Hey loves, it's your girl DeeDee. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. So I am back with another reaction video for you guys. Now this comes from a woman who is talking about Black women being able to be corrected and are taking some type of accountability. So we know accountability when it comes to Black women is like kryptonite. It's hard for them to accept their own flaws, but they keep making poor decisions and they keep lacking any accountability when it comes to the poor decisions that they are making. So we know that this is a fact, but how do we change this? How do we change this mindset? How do we get women, Black women in particular, to stop making poor decisions and accepting their choices and making changes? But I'm gonna go ahead and play this clip of what this woman had to say, and you definitely chime in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts on this one. Here we go.
I saw a video recently where a Black woman was asking who the hell can correct Black women, and then another Black woman stitched it and was all dramatic like, who's not telling Black women? Y'all don't understand what she's saying. Black women overwhelmingly are not receptive to constructive or critical feedback, are not receptive to accountability. Okay? Overwhelmingly so, to where when somebody like me says being a baby mama is not the goal, y'all want to get in the comments and defend baby mama-ness as opposed to just reflecting and saying, you know what? If I could do it over again, I would not have had this man's child, but I love my children, woo, woo, woo. I could say being a kid is not what it is. Y'all gonna say, you judging, woo, woo, woo. Like, y'all don't want any level of standard for yourselves because you're still full of shame for the decisions that you've made.
Listen, she's absolutely right. A lot of women, unfortunately, and I don't know why it's such a popular thing when it comes to Black women, we see a lot of Black women hate accountability. You hate to be wrong. You hate to find any fault in your choices. And it's not like a fault in a, like somebody's trying to put you down, but in order for you to make better decisions, you have to be accountable for the poor decisions that it's almost like you want to just be reckless, do whatever it is that you want, and then when the outcomes appear, you want to blame somebody else consistently without ever looking inward into yourself and realizing that nobody's making you make these choices. Nobody's, forcing you to make these choices. These are choices that you decided to make. And because you're not happy with the outcomes, you're blaming everybody else and not taking any accountability for yourself, not realizing that this is more damaging to you as you continue to do it. This is where the shame game starts, where you want to shame people for telling you the truth. You want to ignore the obvious truths about your life and your life's choices. You want to not focus on it. You want to try to call it something else, try to blame somebody else, because a lot of women, unfortunately, hate to look at themselves and hate to think that they did anything wrong. You know that you have, but you just can't pull yourself to accept the fact that you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. You're making poor choices over and over and over again, constantly blaming the man or the men or somebody else, for the choices that you are making instead of trying to get to the root of why you keep making these poor choices, why you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and it's not yielding you any prosperous results. That says a lot about you, but we have so many women who are living in this delusional la-la land. They've made themselves believe that they do no wrong. They're always right. No matter what you say, you don't want to hear anything that could help to correct the poor choices, because that would mean accountability. And you don't want any accountability. You don't want any kind of constructive criticism. You don't want any type of correction. You don't want nobody to tell you anything. You want to be able to do what you want to do, mess up over and over and over, and then still complain about the outcomes. In what world is that acceptable? But at the end of the day, it's only going to hold you back. It's going to keep you from reaching your full potential, keep you from getting into great relationships, keep you from advancing and doing better in your life, because you hate to admit that you don't know what you're doing and you're making poor decisions and you don't want to get to the root of why you're constantly doing it. So at the end of the day, in order for anybody to do better and make changes that will benefit them, you have to first acknowledge what the problem is. And if you can't acknowledge that you have a part to play in your decision making, that is not always somebody else's fault, especially if you're making these choices, you're just going to be a lost cause. There's going to be no helping you, because you can't help a person who's in denial. If you're constantly in denial, constantly thinking of somebody else, not seeing yourself, not being self-aware of your actions and your poor choices, then baby, it's just going to be a lost cause. And nobody wants to deal with people like that, especially people who are trying to advance in life, people who are trying to do better. And I'm not just talking about financially, I'm talking about spiritually, emotionally, just physically, just overall. If you're trying to make a better life for yourself and have a better life for your children, you have to better yourself. You have to take accountability for your actions and the things that you've caused in your own life. We really need to try to get to the bottom of it, because it's an epidemic. It's an epidemic of women going out here making poor choices sexually, independently, just all the way around. They're making decisions based off of their feelings and their emotions, and then they're depressed because of it. And instead of them saying, you know what, I have an issue, I have some trauma that I have not dealt with, and it's causing me to make poor decisions. I'm emotional. I'm thinking and moving off my emotions because I don't know any other way of how to go about it. See, I think a lot of these women are afraid to admit that they just don't know. And we know that a lot of women growing up, a lot of women didn't get the real advice that they needed. They didn't really get the help that they needed or the guidance by their mothers. They're out here aimlessly trying to do it, listening to other single women who are in the same situations that they are in, trying to grasp at something that could help them guide their way through this life, but they're failing at it. And they hate to admit that they're failing because they don't want to seem wrong. Women hate to acknowledge that they're wrong. And acknowledging that you're wrong is just you taking accountability. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that you're acknowledging that you don't know. You don't know what you're doing. It doesn't make you less than. It just means that you are acknowledging that you don't know what you're doing. You've made poor decisions and you're ready to make a difference. You're ready to do better. But until you can get past whatever is making you think that you can't be accountable, you're going to keep holding yourself back. And it's not anybody else. And if you're this woman and you're having an issue with being accountable for your actions, and you keep making the same mistakes over and over and over, and you keep finding yourself in the same position that is holding you back, then it's you, sis. It's not everybody else. It's you. You got to start making some changes to your life so that you can get a better outcome. If you keep doing the same thing over and over, whether it relates to relationships, men, other choices in life, you need to find some peace and some guidance and get to the bottom of why you're keeping yourself in this predicament. If you keep putting it on a man, you're going to be in a relationship with man after man after man after man, and it's never going to work, because the ultimate problem is you. You're going to find faults in every man that you date, every person that you're around. It's always going to be everybody else's problem, but never yours. And if you always see it that way, and you truly believe that you do no wrong, you make no mistakes, and everybody else is the problem, you're going to find yourself in them same predicaments. You're going to find yourself going in circles till it's going to mess with you mentally, because you're not going to know what to do, because you're not listening. You're not taking accountability. You're not looking at yourself, and you're not trying to find ways to better yourself. But you got to understand that no matter how many people you blame it on, ultimately it's going to hinder you. You are going to hinder yourself. It's not always somebody else's fault. And until women start to be more accountable and accept the things that you do, the choices that you made, and it could be based on wrong information. And I understand that. I understand that, hey, if you were given faulty information and it didn't work for you and you're stuck on that, then that could be the reason. But whatever it is, you got to start being accountable. You got to become self-aware. You got to know what it is that you're doing. And if you truly want to do better for yourself, for a relationship, for your children, you got to start being accountable. Accountability is the key to you moving to a better space in your life. And if you really want change, if you really want to do better in life overall, start with you, and then you can build up on that. Until you're ready to do that, it's always going to be an issue. And that's nobody else's fault but yours. So listen, y'all chime in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Comment, like, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload new content. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.